So the OSI model, first of all, like OSI model is OSI model stand for Open System Interconnection. Okay, and OSI model is developed by ISO, and this model is used to how the data is transferred over the network. OSI model provides a lot of functions and services, and OSI model has 7 layers. Okay, so it start from application. Okay, so it start from, let me write here. So it start from this application layer, and this application layer basically it is responsible. I will just remember the keyword application layer is responsible for all the applications or softwares which interact humans with applications. Okay, or which interacts humans with each other. Okay, or humans with other machines also. Like for example, suppose I ask you, there is a software called web browser. So what is web browser? This is a software to access internet. You open Facebook, Google, everything in web browser. So there is a chat software, maybe Microsoft Team, the Zoom meeting. So these all the applications in the world, like all your WhatsApp and all these. So these are applications. So these are applications. Okay, so web browser, chat software, and any maybe any games. Okay, like Call of Duty, Counter Strike, all these games you can consider these are application, and these application works on this application layer. And on an application layer, there are different protocols also. Okay, so this is application layer has applications and also have some protocols which we will understand in detail. So like if you want to send a email, so there is a protocol called SMTP. Okay, we'll discuss about SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol to send email. There is another protocol which is post office protocol, and this protocol is used to receive email. So there is another, like to access the website, we have their HTTP. So we have HTTPS. Okay, this is a secure version of websites. So we have DHCP. Okay, to provide automatically IP address. Suppose you go and connect internet or connect a Wi-Fi, and automatically your computer gets IP address. So this DHCP gives automatically IP. We will discuss in detail. DNS. Okay, so DHCP, DNS is domain name system, because when you type google.com, Google is name, but you sending traffic to Google server IP address. We will discuss about DNS. Okay, so all these applications, these are all are application layer protocols. Okay, now you understand. So whenever you access web browser, so your computer have done his work of application layer. So when the data let's take an example. The example we have taken today, that this is a computer A, okay, which is connected to maybe a router, and this home router is connected to internet, and internet already have Google IP address over the internet, and Google IP is very famous. 8.8.8 is the Google DNS. Okay, so what we are understanding, so when this computer A, your laptop, so when you open a web browser, okay, when you open a web browser and when you type here google or .com, okay, so when you enter this, when you press enter, what happens? The application layer work is done. Okay, then, and this all steps work in very fast. Okay, you can say it all happens in fraction of seconds. So you cannot actually track the time. You cannot say, sir, how much time it takes in application layer, because nowadays internet is so fast. Within 1 second, less than 1 millisecond also, your traffic, all OSI model step will cover. So when the data goes into application layer, okay, so when you type google.com, so this data, for this computer, this is a data, right? When you type google.com, so this is a request, and this computer will consider this is the data. You want to access google.com, right? So this is a work of application layer. Now, when the data goes to another layer, which is presentation layer. Okay, so this presentation layer actually defines the format of how the data is going to represent the data. So this layer responsible for interaction between humans with each other, or you can say which interact, like you interact with applications. Like when you play games, you do not interact with other humans. Sometimes you just play game. So that is also application. So this is just a simple application layer, means a lot of applications, lot of protocols will work on this layer. And this layer is responsible for the user interaction. So the keyword of this layer is user interaction. It provides the user interaction with different applications. Okay, very simple. Now you guys, whenever you get confused and you do not know what to say in interview, just simply give example like web browser, chat softwares, or the websites, emails. All these are example of application layer. So when the data goes to presentation layer, this layer is responsible for the representation of data. Representation of data. So how my data is going to look like. So right now you can see I'm using a pen tablet, and there you see some red or pink color. This is a yellow color. So what do you guys see? You see a data from your eyes. And when you open a website, suppose you open google.com, when you open facebook.com, so whenever you open any website, okay, suppose you open nwkings.com, networking's website. So suppose you open this website, networkings. So right now you guys can see there is an image. Here it is a form. Okay. And all this data is basically called, all this data is a format. And if you see, this is an image, this is a text, and there in some pages we have some video also, right? So this is all text. So what you can see here, this is a text. This is there is a format. You can right click here and check view page source. So you ask this server, can you please give me the page? Then I go to this course CCNA. So I want to understand about CCNA. So then the server is giving me the page back of CCNA, right? So this is how, and you can see this is a format. This is a video file here. So all this data is coming from the server. Okay. So, and this data is coming in this code. So you can see the whole code is coming to my computer, and this computer or this laptop is converting this code and showing into your screen. And now you can see there is an image. This is all text. There is some images, file, video. So all this is the work of presentation layer. So how my data is going to look like. So when you go to maybe youtube.com, and when you say, I want to suppose listen a music. Okay. Suppose I am listening to this music. So when you play this file, so the YouTube is giving you some access, right? So this is how all the data is coming like. Okay, so what is happening here? Like you are requesting for the code, and YouTube is basically giving you a source code. And in the source code, it is sending you some YouTube links, YouTube videos. All this is a code. And your computer or the web browsers, they convert this code and show to your screen. And just this is a very simple way to understand presentation layer. So the presentation layer represent my data to the screen. Okay. And computer understand binary language, you already know. So all the code, everything is coming into 0, 1 formats, and then they convert into code, and then code is displayed to your screen. So presentation layer also responsible for encryption. Like if you want to encrypt the data so that nobody can hack, encryption, the opposite of encryption is a decryption. Okay. So when you send a file, okay, so this layer is also responsible to compression and decompression, compress of data and the decompression of data. Okay, so these are the actually main task of these layer: presentation, representation of data. It is responsible for encryption and decryption. This layer is also responsible for compression and decompression. Okay, and then the third, when the data is coming to presentation layer will check the data, how it is going to display. But right now you are requesting the data. Okay. So then the layer 1, layer 2, and then the layer application presentation and the session layer comes. Okay, so this session layer is responsible to create and maintain the session. Create and maintain sessions. What do you mean by this? So it means create and maintain session, that when you access google.com in one web browser, maybe in another tab you open youtube.com, maybe in third computer tab you open facebook.com. So means your computer is making connection with the different server. And this, how this computer knows that I want to display Google data into Google tab, YouTube data into YouTube tab. Okay, so tab is basically, I'm sure everyone knows. Okay, let me give you example. Okay, so this is a web browser. Okay, so when you type here google.com, okay, in the second you open maybe youtube.com. In the third, maybe you open maybe twitter.com. So what is happening? Your computer is making connection with the 3 different servers right now. Okay, 3 different servers. And so if you want to see all your connections, okay, by some command line, so there is a command called net statistics, net stat. You guys can use this command, net stat. Okay, and when you enter this, your computer will show you all the active internet connections, so what your computer and other servers have. So you can see in my computer we have a lot of connections, and on the left side this is your computer IP address, and this is the foreign address, this is the server address of the location. So maybe this is a Google IP, maybe this is a Twitter IP. Okay, so you guys can check these IPs later on, but here I'm telling you that this command is actually displaying you all the active internet connections. Okay, and this is this all what is happening, these all are sessions. So what is this? This is a session layer example, that every time when we go to any server, so this command or computer is creating some different connection with the different server, and this session layer is actually creating and maintaining the sessions. So session layer is responsible to create and maintain the sessions. Okay, so this layer is also responsible for every session time. Okay, so you remember, like if you go to any bank website and if you do not do anything for 10 minutes, automatically the computer or automatically the website will log out you. So this is called session timeout. So all the session time frames are defined in the session timeout defined in the session layer. So very simple example. So if you go to gmail.com, okay, and right now I'm not teaching you coding and all, even I don't know, okay, but I'm just giving you some tricks and tips. So right now when I click on sign in, okay, when I enter my ID, okay, when I click on next, so it is asking some password, and when you right click here, there is a view page source and there is a button called inspect, and when you click on inspect, okay, so there is another window pops up. Okay, so you can see some code here, you can see a lot of information here. Right click and inspect. So this is a basically called development tools. Okay, we will not see here development, we will see here network. So when I enter the password, what is happening? My request is going to my phone. Okay, and it is asking me to press yes or something like that. But right now you guys can see here what is happening here. Like if you go to this sources console, okay, so you guys can see everything here, right? And you guys, I'm just trying to show you, even I'm not just give me something. So do not worry, you, this is not in CCNA. So actually I'm just showing you something which is basically session something. Let me check session. So you can see when I control F, so there are a lot of things which are coming, and every time you can see some here session IDs. Can you see that session ID? Yes, everyone. Can you see that session IDs? Okay, so whenever I access any website, everywhere you will see a lot of code, and every website, when you log in or log out, it goes with the session IDs. Even a website without a login also creates sessions. So this is an example where I shown you that this is an example to understand every code in website everywhere when you log in, guys. So that websites have session IDs. Okay, they have session layer programmed into their websites. So whenever you log in, suppose if I log in into Cisco website, okay, and when you check this, when you check their any website code, okay, and when you type Control F and type session, so you can see session somewhere down the line you will see some session codes. So it means very simple. The session layer is responsible for time frames, or session layer is responsible for creating and maintaining the session. So three layers are done, and these three layers are called upper layers of OSI model. Okay, so these layers are called upper layer of OSI model, and the best part, all these notes are here. So you guys can double click and you guys can read it. Okay. So now what happens that when we talk about all three layers, so when we talk about all three layers, so then session layer is sending data to further layer. And when the data is coming from application, okay, presentation, okay, and the session, all three layers are sending the data into which format? Data format only. Okay, till here, whenever you send a data from web browser, presentation, session, already they add a time frame, session IDs, it check the format, coding and all, it checks application is maintaining the application and all. So everything is happening, application, presentation, session. And when the data goes to transport layer, this is another layer. So this layer is basically, in the name itself say transport. Suppose this is a data, this is a goods, and if you want to send some goods to from one city to another city, you will use some transport. So how this data will go to internet, how this data will go to maybe some another website, Google. So there in transport layer, this layer is responsible for end-to-end delivery of data. So this layer is purely depend on end-to-end delivery of data. Delivery end-to-end means source to destination. Source is your computer, destination is Google. End-to-end means source to destination. Okay, remember the example we are taking, that computer is going to google.com. So this computer is going to called source. So this is source and this is a destination. So transport will provide end-to-end delivery from computer A to Google server, end-to-end delivery of data. So this layer is basically responsible to transmit the information. And this transport layer has two types of transport. One is called TCP and one is called UDP. We will discuss in detail, but just a simple way, this is reliable and this is not reliable. Okay, and whenever you send data with this transport protocol, so whenever you send data, this protocol will give you acknowledgement. This is like a courier guy. You receive a courier from Amazon and they will ask for OTP or some signatures. But UDP will only throw data, but there is no acknowledgements. We do not want receipt, no acknowledgement. Okay, so very simple. We will discuss in detail right now. One more thing, when this data comes to transport layer, these two transport layer protocol will divide this data and break this data into smaller parts. And these parts are called segments. So like data is divided into, suppose, 4 different parts, and these parts are called segments. Okay, so this is segments. And when this part is called segment, and every segment, this transport layer adds a port number, which is very important information here. Because every service have a port number. How the internet will come to know that you want to send email, okay, or you want to access a website to Google? Because Google has email, Google has website, Google has YouTube, Google has a lot of application. But how Google server will come to know you are requesting for a website or you are sending an email? Because every service works on different port number. So port number basically means identify the service. To identify the service, identify a different service, we need a port number. Like we have identity, okay? Like suppose you buy a car and you registered your car in Mumbai, so you will get a Mumbai number. When you buy a car and you buy in Delhi, you will get a Delhi number. So just understand from that angle, and then all the traffic will come to know, okay, this is a car from Delhi. So the same way you guys can take an example. So when you access any website and when you see a port number like HTTP work on port number 80. So जब भी आप ये port number देखते हो, whenever you see a port number 80, and for a secure website, this is 443. We'll discuss about port numbers. We will discuss about TCP, UDP in detail. Okay. So I'm just giving an idea. This transport layer divide the data into segment, and every segment will be added what port number. So transport layer 3 work. So first it provides end-to-end delivery of data. Second, transport layer has two protocol, TCP and UDP. Third, transport layer provides segmentation. This process is called segmentation, dividing the data into smaller segments or parts. तो बड़े डेटा को छोटे छोटे टुकड़ों में बांटना, big data into smaller chunks is called segmentation, and smaller parts are called segments. Okay. And when that UDP break down this information, so this UDP will call these small parts datagrams, because UDP stand for user datagram protocol, datagrams. Okay. So the smaller parts are called datagrams in UDP, and in TCP it is called segment. We'll discuss a lot much detail in transport layer, and I'll share maybe one or two couple of videos after end of session so that you can revise on weekdays. Okay. So right now you guys have to understand. So all three, I'm going to complete in just 2-3 layers more, and then we will have a proper question answers. Okay. Very basic. So you need to do not go in detail right now. Just go and understand the overview first. Okay. Now let's revise. So application layer responsible for, you guys can help me also. Let me unmute you. So tell me, application layer responsible for all the applications. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. User interface.
Yes. And all the protocols like all the protocols like email protocol, website, every protocol works on application layer mostly, right? Yes. So compression and decompression also, right? And what is the work of session layer?
Create or maintain the session.
Create and maintain the session.
Maintain the session.
Session time.
The request. Session time. Basically session time.
The request.
Yes. Good. And when it comes to the session layer transfer the data to transport, and transport will divide the data into smaller parts.
In
TCP.
Main work of transport layer is to deliver the data. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Understand, some protocol works on application layer, but they cannot go directly themselves because they do not know how to go. So these services will be gone with the help of TCP and
UDP.
It means when you access website, you cannot access website without a TCP. Yes or no?
Yes.
So when you see this netstat command, which I just entered a few minutes back. So when you see this netstat command, guys, can you see here which is my carrying protocol? Which protocol is sending data?
TCP4.
For TCP4 means a TCP for a protocol version 4, IP version 4. Okay.
Yes,
So IP version 4 is this address is called IP version 4. And this you can see which protocol, which service we are using here.
HTTPS.
Secure version.
Simple word, this is your application layer protocols, and this is your transport layer protocols. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Very simple OSI model, right?
Yes, sir.
So when the transport layer send data, we send data with some application, some protocol needs reliability, and some protocols do not need reliability. They just need little more speed. Okay. So we'll discuss about TCP UDP in detail. Till now, just tell me, a transport layer provides end-to-end delivery of data. So TCP and UDP are the main protocol which works on transport layer. So TCP is reliable, UDP is not reliable. TCP provide acknowledgement, UDP do not provide
Acknowledgement.
What is acknowledgement? When you call somebody, so when you say hello, the other guy say hello. So that is the acknowledgement.
Information.
That yes, I'm listening to you. है ना?
Yes.
Okay, and this transport layer divide the data into segmentation. Okay, segments, and the UDP divide the data into datagrams. Clear?
Yes, sir.
There are a lot of other things, three-way handshake, sequencing. We'll discuss in detail. Okay.
Sir,
So now, when the data divided into transport layer, what is the main thing here? What is being added here?
Port number.
Port number.
TCP port number.
Yes, port
Yeah,
number,
but in application presentation session, we do not add anything. The data convert into parts, and every part we will add a
port number.
So you have seen the netstat command right now, right?
Yes,
You can see every connection we are making, we are adding a port number here. Can you see a number here, 53006?
Yes.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you see a number here?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please ask.
सर जैसे आपने बताया कि एप्लीकेशन लेयर पे फॉर एग्जांपल एनडब्ल्यू किंग्स का कोई आईपी डालते हैं, तो अगर आपने जो एग्जांपल दिया था कि प्रेजेंटेशन लेयर पे वो सेशन लेयर पे वो सेशन क्रिएट हो रहा है, प्रेजेंटेशन लेयर पे आपका जो भी डाटा जिस फॉर्म में वो दिखा रहा है, तो अगर एनडब्ल्यू किंग्स के सर्वर से रिप्लाई आ रहा है तो ये समझ में आ रहा है, बट जब हम लोग एप्लीकेशन लेयर से nwkings.com डालते हैं, एंटर करते हैं, तो उसके बाद उसका नेक्स्ट स्टेप में जब वो प्रेजेंटेशन लेयर में जाता है तो उस समय वो क्या रोल रहता है?
See, first of all, yes, the main work of presentation is to show you data, right? But all in real world, actually OSI model does not work. This is for your understanding. We will understand TCP, IP, and all three layer is a combination of one layer in TCP, which is application layer. So do not try to relate the real world right now. To understand OSI model, you have to leave your real data transfer side. You are learning here how these all layers working together. But to understand the real production networks or the real networks, once we complete OSI model, then you understand all three application, or what we call this, all these layers. Let me show you something. एक चीज दिखाता हूं मैं तुम्हें. It's very important. Okay, now you can see here OSI model is for our understanding, but in the real world, which protocol is used?
TCP.
So now we are learning all three layers, because these layers may be asked in interview. Maybe these layers are being asked into your CCNA exam, right?
Okay.
So, but in real world, all three layers work together, and all three layer work done by one layer only, called application. When you define TCP application layer, you have to say this layer responsible for user interaction, this layer responsible for presentation, this layer responsible for creating and maintaining the sessions. Clear? So if you know OSI model, you can easily explain TCP IP. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So let's complete the layers. Just hold on now for some time. Three layers are pending. So when the network, so when this data, all these segments are divided. Okay, now tell me what three layers are remaining. Let me write directly those three layers. Okay, right in the right section. So when these segments, when this segment will be gone to which layer now? Okay, so network layer. So network layer is basically responsible for adding the IP address information. So this layer is adding the IP address information. So this layer will tell us from where to where. Basically, when you send a courier, you put down your address and you also put down destination address. So this layer will add source IP address and destination IP. And inside this is called, so tell me which, this layer is giving us what? Segment. So when this segment comes to this layer, so segment is basically, segment is here. You can understand segment is here. And inside the segment, we are already saying that which port number we are using. Suppose we accessing the website, the port number 80, source port and destination port is already added here, right? Maybe 50,000 is my source port number and destination is 80. So this is port number and this is inside the segment. Now segment will have another information. Okay, so segment will have extra information where we are going to add my computer IP address 192.168.1.2, and then you will put down your destination IP, maybe google.com 8.8.8. So simply network layer adds the IP information, and this whole thing, IP address plus segment combination, is called packet. So what is inside the packet? Inside the packet you have segment, and additionally you have source IP and the destination IP. Is this clear, everyone? So now this packet will go to which layer? Now this layer goes to where will be data. Data is inside here. So inside the segment you have all your data, whatever, because segment itself a data, because data is divided into segments, na? So segment is taking care of data. So this segment is basically port number plus data. And now data with the port number with IP address, everything is called a packet. Now this layer, which is a data link layer. Okay, so this data link layer is basically add another information. Okay, so you remember what we are getting here? We are getting a packet from upper layer. So this is what we got, packet. And inside packet you have data, you have a segment header, segment information, you have packet information. Okay, all this information. And when this packet comes to data link layer, so this layer adds another information, and this information is called source MAC address and destination MAC address. Okay, so this layer adds the MAC address information, and there is another information to check the errors, which is called CRC, cyclic redundancy check, just to check the errors and all. Okay, so these three things will be added here, and this complete information is called frame. So basically inside the frame you have network, you have the MAC address information, you have the packet IP address information, you have the port number inside frame. This is the bigger packet. So when you open frame, what you will get? Packet. When you open packet, what you will get? Segment. When you open segment, what you will get? Data and port number. Okay, this is all like what is happening here. We are just adding the information on every layer. So when we send data from here, the transport layer divide the data and it adds the port number. So we add port number here. So when the data goes to network layer, it adds the IP address. The network layer send the data to data link layer, and data link layer adds MAC address. Just to give you more information, data link layer is divided into two layers. So one is MAC address. So which is this layer? MAC address information is added by which layer? MAC layer. So the communication with upper layer protocol. So you can see this is a IP, and this data link layer make relation with the network layer with one layer called logical link control. So this layer is basically helping you to connect with the network layer, because this layer gives the data, and in data link layer, how they will be compatible with each other by LLC layer, logical link control. Okay, so this and data link layer, MAC sub layer, these are called sub layers. Like inside the layer also you have layers. And if you watch OSI models, maybe like you will not see this much information everywhere. So LLC MAC is also important. So LLC gives you logical link control. MAC is providing the MAC address information. And all this information is called frame. Only it will be added as a suffix type or something will be prefix also. We'll discuss, Vivek. Right now, just you think that it is going to added. The prefix, suffix, we'll see. Okay. So right now, as I told you, it is an overview. I thought to complete in 15 minutes, but it goes up to half an hour. Okay. So, and when the data goes to physical layer, this physical layer divide this physical layer is basically provides encoding and decoding. So your computer has some machines or assemblers and disassemblers, okay, which will convert all the data into 0 and 1 format. Decoding means opposite of that. Physical layer will convert this frame into 0 and 1 form, and this physical layer will send this 0 and 1 in the form of signals from the computer cable. Okay, your cables, your cable connector. So your cable connector works on this physical layer. And when you talk about data link layer, switches, okay, switch device like network switch works on this data link layer. Network layer, your routers layer 3 switches, because they work on this layer, network layer. So when you talk about port number and all, so some type of proxies or firewall works on up to 4 levels. Okay. And there are some application layer firewalls also which block applications. Okay. So totally depends on scenario. Okay. And when it comes to your computer is working on all the layers. Yeah. So this is an example. So you got an idea about all the layers. Okay. This was the objective to actually, you should be ready in this class itself when somebody asks you OSI model.